In the control room, everyone was in a stupor. Gull was stunned when he woke up, and Gabble's mouth was still open. Gupta had been cheering cheerfully, but he started to say only, "It's not good." Ranga was curled up with his tail between his legs. It was such a shocking sight. After all, the insect lord Zelanus is the incarnation of despair. "I'm afraid of Zegion," Ramos whispered, and Benimaru nodded his head. "What is that guy? How can he be so calm when he used that power?" He was seriously astonished. Benimaru knew that if he had drawn so much power, he would not have been able to endure it. It was a well-known fact that Zegion's fighting ability was outstanding, but that did not explain how unrealistic the current battle was. In the first place, it is a miracle that he could beat Insect Lord Zelanus. It should have been a miracle, but the victory was so one-sided and overwhelming that it seemed to have been inevitable. If you were Benimaru, would you have been able to beat him? Do you want to hear that? Benimaru answered in a vague tone of voice, saying that it was unnecessary to ask. As the real commander-in-chief who was entrusted by Rimuru with the military of Tempest, not a decoration like Tremors, he did not want to admit defeat so easily. But still. At least, I don't think we can beat the current Zegion. Benimaru expressed his honest feelings. Incidentally, the operator who was measuring the existence value was so astonished that they could not utter a word, and their mouth was agape, but no one noticed it. Zegion existence point. 68,889,143. Divine Insect, Supreme Chaos Spirit. Rimuru's Blessing. Miss Lord. Water Spirit Magic. Ultimate Skill Illusion King Mephisto. Thought Acceleration, Universal Perception, Demon Lord Hockey, Water and Lightning Domination, Space-Time Manipulation. Dino and his group were also stunned by the result. "Why are you pinching my cheek?" "Oh, it's not a dream." They thought it was a nightmare too, but it seems to be real. "No, listen. I'm in pain." Pico pinched Dino's cheek to determine whether the scene before him was a dream or reality. The only one who complained about the way he was judging was Dino himself, who felt the pain from the pinch. "Can you stop playing around and tell us what happened?" Mai asked Dino because she understood that something great had happened, but she didn't know the details. Mai could not believe her eyes when she saw the Insect Lord Zelanus lying on the ground. How could something like that happen? Zegion was a fearsome warrior, but there must have been a gap between them that could not be filled. Well, that's the thing. Actually, Dino is not sure either. He had no idea why Zegion's power had increased so rapidly. Thanks to the weapon, but that can't be it, can it? So, I can only assume that he did something. When in trouble, it's Rimuru's fault. This somehow explains it. When he thinks like that, he can understand how strange that slime is. As if to prove it, Diablo said with an ecstatic expression on his face. "Ah, Rimuru-sama is wonderful. You knew this would happen from the moment you met Zegion." These were unintelligible words to Dino. The question was whether he should listen back or not. Diablo was in this Rimuru-sama praising mode, and he could not stop talking. But he seems to know something. Dino was curious about that. "Hey, can you explain it to me too?" Dino asked boldly, but Diablo's response was cold. "What? You idiot. Why should I share this excitement with you?" He answered with a straight face, which made Dino exclaim, "Why should I share this excitement with you?" Diablo did not want to let the secret of his power leak out. After all, it was the energy of Rimuru's nihility collapse. Only those who are connected to Rimuru by the soul corridor and who open the door have the right to borrow his power. However, it would be suicidal to draw this power lightly in Rimuru's absence, as it is a terrible power that can destroy you if you make even a single wrong move. When Diablo saw Zegion circulating the energy of nihility collapse in his body, he questioned his sanity. But at the same time, the question arose. How is Zegion alive and well? Because it would have destroyed itself in an instant if it tried to do so. What is the reason why it has not done so? Diablo could think of only one answer. It was the fact that a percentage of Zegion's body is composed of Rimuru's cells. Diablo thought that Rimuru must have given Zegion his own cells because he was aware of this situation. With this understanding, everything made sense. All that remained was the simple task of praising Rimuru. Of course, Rimuru did not foresee such a thing, and just saved Zegion without thinking. If you want to talk about that, Apito's body is also made of Rimuru's cells. Diablo is also quite lax in his attempts to make the case consistent with his own convenient imagination, without taking that into consideration. Diablo's eyes are always glazed over only when Rimuru is involved in the case. However, this assumption is partially correct. This was the key point that Diablo was not completely off the mark, and this was the reason for his delusion. In fact, Zegion survived because of the transformation of the pluripotent cells, also called Rimuru cells or slime cells, that withstood the energy of the nihility collapse. Zegion, like Diablo, was overconfident in Rimuru, and he was convinced that the body given by Rimuru would meet his expectations. There was no basis for this belief. Zegion's safety was simply a matter of luck. However, it is also true that results are everything, and when Diablo shut his mouth, the matter was buried in the dark. Dino, unaware of this, was shocked at the refusal. He had been prepared for Diablo's Rimuru bragging, but he was met with a cold response. Isn't it terrible? Dino laments, but Pico and Gracia's reactions are less than favorable. Well, you're lucky he didn't beat you up. Yeah, right. Dino tried to be consoled, but he failed miserably. Seeing Dino in such a pitiful state, Mai let out a big sigh. A relaxed atmosphere begins to prevail in the labyrinth. This is because they feel that now that they have conquered the despair of Insect Lord Zelanus, they are now safe. However, the crisis was not over yet. There still survived in the labyrinth a man who was the embodiment of vice. You lick me. You mock me. You. Vega, looking half dead, is pinned to the ceiling wall of the labyrinth. He is muttering a complaint as if he is cursing everything in the world. It is a curse against those who have wronged him. Vega, however, had bad luck. When Zelanus intervened and saved the day when Zegion was about to put the finishing touches on him. And now, while trying to regain his strength, he was vigilantly watching for an opportunity. Vega is secretly exercising his ultimate skill Evil Dragon King Azidahaka. He had been spreading his roots in the labyrinth and absorbing the power of the Evil Dragon King. The labyrinth where Vega was located was isolation by Ramers, but it was connected to the lower labyrinth by the appearance of Zelanus. By getting out of the labyrinth, Vega was able to feed on the main body of the labyrinth. This anomaly should have been immediately apparent, but again, Vega's luck was in play. The surveillance of the labyrinth was focused on dealing with the threat of Zelanus, and the rest of the labyrinth was not monitored at all. For this, they cannot blame Ramers and his friends, since Zelanus was such a threat. But as a result, Vega had 9 lives. Or, rather, it seems that Vega's bad luck was real since he had died many times over. And even now, Vega had the best bait of all lying right under his nose. It is the dead body of Zelanus, the bug demon lord who was defeated by Zegion. Moreover, in the current situation, no one was aware of Vega's existence, or even that he was still alive. Perhaps because of his near death, Vega's presence had become scarce. In addition, the state of the hierarchy had become unstable due to Zegion's tremendous energy radiation. The magicule was disturbed, and magic perception alone was not enough to recognize it. Such a situation was also fortunate for Vega. Zegion and Apito left the Colosseum, leaving only the bait in the center. Is this a trap? Vega was wary, but he decided that it didn't matter. As long as he could get his hands on the overwhelming power of Zelanus, Zegion would be no match for him. After all, Zegion was now exhausted. Perhaps in reaction to his excessive power against Zelanus, his movements have become lackluster. Therefore, this was not the time to hesitate. This moment was Vega's best chance. Let's go, evil dragon spawn. Vega shouted, creating 4 evil dragon spawn, the maximum number he could produce at the same time. He ordered them to run amok as they pleased. Dino and the others were there, but from Vega's point of view, they were as good as traitors. They did not attack the weakened Zegion, but seemed to be in harmony with each other. Well, I'm going to eat you, too, so don't hate me. Vega watched the event while thinking about how convenient it would be for him. Then, the luckiest thing of the day smiled on Vega. Things worked out in Vega's favor. One of them was foolishly directed at Diablo, and in an instant, he was gone. One of them went somewhere on its own and left the hierarchy. The other 2 began to run amok in the hierarchy. Vega did not let the chaos go unnoticed. Rather, he went straight for Zelanus, regardless of his appearance and without thinking about the consequences. And then Vega said, Infinite Eater. Vega succeeds in consuming the corpse of Zelanus. Malice, the fangs are bared. Diablo only became aware of Vega's presence after things had already taken a turn for the worse. Rampage, evil dragon spawn. Vega attacked him. Naturally, Diablo reacted immediately. He is ready to fight Vega in an instant. The same goes for Zegion. Zegion can fight no matter how much damage he takes. However, Zegion did not own the power that Zelanus had given him, and was still in the process of integration. As Vega had expected, he was not in good shape, but in such a bad shape that it was not surprising if he fell asleep at any time. Before that, the reaction to the use of Nihility Collapse was so strong that it was a mystery how he could stay on his feet. The fact that Zegion did not let them realize that was his greatness. Dino and the others reacted late, but they were struggling against 2 evil dragon spawn. It seemed that they would not be able to get their hands on Vega. They were completely out of it, or rather, Vega was one of them, and they didn't expect to be targeted. That's what people call being caught off guard. I'm sorry. I can't fight now that I gave Zegion my weapon. Dino says this with a smile on his face, but that's no excuse. Don't you dare, you fool. Get serious now. Then I'll forgive you. Gracia and the others were giving him a merciless shove. Diablo immediately realized that he could leave them alone. Then, he confronted the real target. Zegion, I'm going to have to let you have this one. Diablo suggested with a sneer. It is not a proposal, but a decision. Zegion has no reason to reject Diablo's proposal. He nodded his head, and with Apito's support, they moved backward. Vega, his eyes flashing red, steps out in front of Diablo. He shouted without having to shout in order to draw Diablo's attention to him. He then takes the opportunity to eat the carcass of Zelanus. It was only natural that Vega was on a roll. Ha ha ha. This is great, this guy is so powerful, Vega exclaims happily. Vega was almost killed by Zegion, but Zelanus' intervention saved his life. Vega had been looking for a chance to give up, but he did not. Now was exactly the right time. The power of Zelanus, which had overwhelmed Zegion, was now Vega's. It was so extraordinary that he felt as if his power had increased several times. What you say, Diablo? If you swear to be my servant, I'll let you live. In Vega's mind, Zegion is a dangerous opponent to watch out for. Now is the right time to kill him, when he is exhausted, and the right time to take his power. Therefore, he did not want Diablo to interfere. He has seen Diablo kill evil dragons spawn in the blink of an eye, and he knows that he can do it. However, he had also seen him struggling against Zelanus, so he thought Vega could beat him now. If they eat Zegion, they are sure to win the game. So, he was ready to deceive them with his words, and he suggested to them that they should win the game. However, there was no way that would work. What? Diablo asked back with an expression of not understanding what was being said. Don't tell me you think less of me. Diablo found it hard to believe that this was possible. It was more than just a wound to his pride to be considered inferior by a small guy like Vega. It was an unforgivable outrage. Diablo hated not only the verbal abuse toward Rimuru, but also the behavior that made him look bad. Vega had stepped on Diablo's landmine without realizing it.